Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will start in about 30 seconds, just to give the media a second. Can we adjust the mic? Okay, test. How was that for you guys? You good? Okay. So good morning. My name is Colonel Steve Murphy. I'm the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, New Orleans District. And thank you for coming out on such a beautiful day and such an incredible structure. And I really hope you take a moment to just enjoy this breathtaking view behind us as we're here today to commemorate such a momentous and historic occasion, which is the final completion of the Greater New Orleans Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System. The large majority of this $14.5 billion national investment to provide a world-class, state-of-the-art risk reduction system for this area has actually been complete for some time now and turned over to the capable hands of the state of Louisiana. But today's ceremony commemorates the completion of the entire system now, as the final contracts were completed earlier this year. The HSDRRS' entire 130-mile perimeter and every single one of its structures are now owned, operated, and maintained by our dedicated partners and teammates with the state of Louisiana and the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authorities. The system is stronger and more resilient than it's ever been and has actually proven its value numerous times. It has paid for itself time and again over 7 separate storms, major storm events, since 2008. Today's ceremony also coincides appropriately with the reason for the system's existence, and that is hurricane season, which will actually just begin here in a few days. So it's not only the opportunity to come together and celebrate all the incredible work that brought to completion the largest civil works project in the Army Corps of Engineers history and how well it has performed to date, but it's an opportunity to look forward to apply the lessons that we learned from Katrina and in the construction of the system as we move forward. I think one of the most important lessons learned in the construction of this incredible system, again, all the teamwork that went into it, is that we can never, ever completely reduce all the risk. There will inevitably be a storm that is greater than this incredible system was designed to handle. So every single one of us at every level plays a crucial role in helping reduce our collective risk. And I think one point that's especially worth making, after Hurricane Katrina, the Corps purposely and very deliberately looked at what would we call this new system. Complete redesign, state-of-the-art technology, modeling, all the effort that went in to really change what was formerly known as the Hurricane Protection System, which was a system in name only, to what it is called now, the Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System. And that's a key point because it recognizes the fact that this system reduces risk, but it never completely eliminates it. And so everyone here, every citizen that lives in this area within its protection has to do their part. Our theme this year reflects that thought, and that is the Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System is ready for the hurricane season. Are you? To share in today's ceremony, we are honored by the presence of so many distinguished leaders and guests from the administration, from Congress, from the Corps of Engineers, and from our state, parish, and levee district partners. We truly stand on the shoulder of giants today. Please remember, for our speakers, the 3 rules of successful briefings. That's be brilliant, be brief, and be gone. So in holding with a local Corps of Engineer tradition of opening with our host city, it is my honor to introduce the Mayor of the City of New Orleans, Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Colonel Murphy. To all of you present, thank you for being here. This is a great day for our region, of course for the city of New Orleans, but the state of Louisiana. Secretary Connor, thank you, sir. Governor John Bell Edwards, true partner, thank you, sir. Senator Kennedy, Congressman Graves, General Spellman, my brother President Jewell, I see you over there. Of course, Kirk Lapine, where's my brother President Kirk? I see him over there. And everyone who has graced us with your presence this morning. Today is just yet another example of how we are collaborating regionally to protect all of our residents. I'm so excited to say that we are entering hurricane season with the greatest level of protection. That's really second to none. Our levee protection system is stronger than it's ever been before. We know that it was tested in true fashion when Hurricane Ida came our way, and we were spared. It worked. We know that we're a coastal community. As Colonel Murphy, thank you so much, sir, for focusing in on that. Because this is a significant investment, and we know that it does reduce risk, but it doesn't eliminate risk. And therefore, we have to do everything possible to ensure that we continue to mitigate and protect our region, of course, our city, my city, and this state. From what we know, it's not a matter of if, it is when. The future and sustainability of New Orleans, we know, depends on our ability to adapt. Adaptation is the #1 priority. And I'm asking, and this really spoke to me, Colonel, when you talked about all of us having a role to play. And while we're celebrating this true milestone this morning, we have an opportunity for further and future investments to protect our city, our region, and our state. And we have to do it. The time is now. As even last night when we were in our city talking about the city park flood protection that we're wanting to put there, we're seeing even some level of pushback. But all of this has to work together, all of it. So I'm asking not only for your continued support, but for you to lend your voice where you know it's necessary to, again, protect our people from future flooding in our city, in our region, and in this state. Now is the time. Public safety remains our top priority. And as we're approaching hurricane season, again, it is a plea to the public to prepare yourselves, get your plan ready, because again, we all have to play our role and do what is right to protect ourselves, to protect our city, to protect our state. As the host mayor here today, I am just so excited that we see this project not only at its completion, but it is a true example of when the federal government invests big, the results are big. And as we look to additional investments coming from the federal government that we want to leverage, again, let this be the example. When we invest big and be bold, we're transformational. And at the end of the day, we protect property, but more importantly, we protect lives. So with that, thank you so much. Colonel Murphy, I'll turn it right back over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Honorable Michael Connor, Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works.
Thank you, Colonel Murphy. And thanks, Mayor, for those great words to start us off with. I'm going to follow your suit and try and be brief as I can here. But I have to say good morning to everybody, and thanks for being here to celebrate the completion of the Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System. I'm only going to say that once. It'll be HSDRRS from here on out. That'll save us a little bit of time. Let me start by just acknowledging the very impressive group of leaders. The mayor has already introduced everybody. When you have such an austere and terrific set of leaders at every level of government, you know you've accomplished something meaningful. But I think what's more important is the recognition that we can't accomplish anything meaningful like this system without the partnership of all of these leaders at the federal, state, and local level. It's simply impossible to do that, and I know that we have a group of predecessors who decided long ago that partnership was the best way to proceed, and as Colonel Murphy mentioned, we're standing on their shoulders to celebrate this accomplishment today. HSDRRS demonstrates the ability to tackle massive challenges, and it did so because, as pointed out, it starts with the resources to complete the work necessary to meet that challenge. Secondly, there was a dogged determination to focus on the needs of the communities that we're all charged with serving. And lastly, it takes acknowledging the mistakes of the past if we're going to avoid those in the future. HSDRRS is also a bold and massive project. It will serve New Orleans well, and from its most affluent to its most vulnerable communities. And that's the beauty of this particular system. In putting this together, the Army Corps of Engineers, General Spellman and his predecessors, they assessed the risks, they analyzed the appropriate measures necessary to address those risks, and they adapted that strategy throughout the construction process. Pretty impressive. And on the brink of hurricane season as we are now, I'm confident, because it's already been demonstrated, that this system will hold up well, it'll protect New Orleans, and to the extent as we move forward and we have unprecedented challenges from storms that we don't even envision at this point in time because of the extreme events that keep coming our way, we'll adapt to those in the future as we move forward. So let me just say it's great to celebrate what we've accomplished so far with everybody's assistance and partnership, but we've got a lot more work to be done. Over the last 6 months, working very closely with your delegation and other members of Congress, the Biden administration has allocated over $2.7 billion for more risk reduction actions and projects in Louisiana. So we're going to take this traditional set of gray infrastructure, non-structural measures, and we're also going to use nature itself to develop that risk reduction set of activities that is important to the communities, but important to the state and its residents overall. And Governor Edwards, let me just say, you're a national leader in that approach on using nature to help the communities, protect the communities that you serve. Thank you for that. So I'll look forward to more celebrations in the future. Lastly, I just want to note that HSDRRS not only is incredibly important in the fact that it benefits New Orleans, but it benefits the country as a whole. And it's not just because it'll help protect this important set of commerce that moves through these waterways. That's another important aspect to the nation as a whole. But the lessons that we've learned and the Corps has learned in developing this system, in constructing it, is going to benefit communities all across the nation. And you've got neighbors in Texas now who are trying to emulate this in the latest Water Resources Development Act, and that's because they see the work that's been done here and the protections for the communities and the need to advance those type of protections elsewhere. I've learned in my 6 months on the job that the biggest challenge for the Corps is not completing the work that we already have, and that's a significant challenge. It's the expectations and the needs of communities across this nation, particularly on our coast, as we deal with sea level rise, storm surges, everything that we're going to be facing from now into the future. Our job is to build resilient infrastructure at the Army Corps of Engineers. And we're going to build resilient infrastructure to protect resilient communities. This particular system helps us to do this here and across the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Connor. Governor Edwards?
Thank you, Colonel Murphy. Look, it is a beautiful day, and it's great to be here with you. And the only thing better would be to be fishing, but the wind wouldn't allow that anyway. Mayor, thank you for welcoming us. Assistant Secretary Connor, thank you so much. I want to thank Senator Kennedy, Congressman Graves as well, and we have the Corps officials. In addition to Colonel Murphy, we got General Spellman and General Holland here. All of you all have been just tremendous partners. You know, we have 5 parishes that benefit from this hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system. And we are on the I guess next week starts the next hurricane season. So what I can tell you is, as was demonstrated, I think most vividly last year, in August of last year, this system worked. Hurricane Ida was actually stronger than Hurricane Katrina when it made landfall. The path was very similar. Every single aspect of this hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system was activated, and it performed well. In fact, all of our investments, all of our levees, all of our gates, everything that we have, whether it was federal or non-federal, really did work. And the lesson here is, when we invest in protection, when we mitigate against the risks of storms, we win, because the damage that we sustained was much less than we would have otherwise had occur. And by the way, it was still very significant. The wind damage, extremely significant. I want to thank the congressional delegation, especially for the $1.27 billion we have for Ida. Remind you, that's about half of what we think we need, but we appreciate that work. Also want to thank the congressional delegation, because they recognize that with the long delays in delivering this project, the construction interest was going to be an issue. So we were able to work with them and with the administration, the previous administration actually, so that we waived the construction interest. We're still making our non-federal match obligation payments, and in fact we'll make the second $400 million payment in just a couple of weeks from now, and then that third payment, we're hopeful that the WRDA bill that was just mentioned by the secretary, assistant secretary, that we will be able to credit some of the work that we've been doing to protect this federal investment. This year alone, we're gonna spend in the next fiscal year more than $1.3 billion on hurricane protection and restoration, much of which benefits this system, this federal investment that we're speaking about. And so we're looking to try to make sure that we get some credit for that as well, to apply towards that non-federal match obligation. So I want to thank everybody, because this is how you collaborate. This is how you actually partner with people across, whether it's locals, whether it's state officials, the federal government, the delegation, whatever. It takes all of us working together to deliver projects like this. And today really is a great day, but I'm gonna close by reminding everybody, this is a hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system. It is not an elimination system. And there will still be risks from wind. There could be risks from water. And so we all have to be prepared for this hurricane season that starts next week. You know, there's a forecast that calls for more than the average number of storms, and actually for more intense storms than we would typically see in an average year as well. So please, everybody, make sure that you're ready. Make sure that you get a game plan. Go to getagameplan.org. It will remind you of things that you need to think about for yourself and your family, for your neighbors, so that you are ready. And being ready is more important than ever, because Hurricane Ida, Hurricane Laura, they weren't just the strongest hurricanes to ever hit our state. They actually popped up in the Caribbean as a disorganized storm, came across the Yucatan Peninsula, and were on our doorstep when they organized and rapidly intensified and then came ashore. So we don't have the lead time that we used to have, if this is any indicator of what we're going to face in the future. So it's more important that we are all ready for these storms as early as possible. So thank you all very much. God bless and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Kennedy?
Thank you, Colonel. Sometimes I think God gave Louisiana a choice between good food and good weather. And you know which one we chose. That's why we're here today, to celebrate our risk reduction system. As the Secretary pointed out, we call it HSDRRS. It's both a miracle and a marvel. And I come today full of gratitude. I first want to thank the American taxpayer. This project cost $14.5 billion. And the money didn't just fall from heaven. We thank heaven for it, but it came out of the pockets of the American taxpayer. I want to also thank the Louisiana taxpayer. Not just in the New Orleans metropolitan area, but from all across Louisiana, because the state, as John Bell knows well, had to put up a substantial portion of this. It just goes to show you that all of us in Louisiana can come together when we need to. And so I want to thank our Louisiana taxpayers. I want to thank the Corps of Engineers. I mean it. This is a miracle, but it's also an engineering marvel. Largest pumping station in the world. One of the largest surge barriers in the world. I've never worked with a more professional group of people than the Corps of Engineers, and we wouldn't be celebrating today without their expertise. I want to thank the United States Congress. Now, I mentioned that Louisiana had to put up some of the money. When Congress authorized this project and told the Corps of Engineers to get going, Congress came to us in Louisiana and said, look, you got to put up your share of the money. Well, you remember those days. We didn't have any money. So we basically had to sign a promissory note. And the interest on it wasn't cheap. Congressman Graves, working in the House, helped us a lot. I'll talk about some of his other colleagues for a second, but I went to every single member of the United States Senate and explained the problem. And I said, look, we're ready, we in Louisiana are ready to make a cash payment. But we need you to forgive the interest that's going to run forever and a day. And my colleagues agreed. And we saved the people of Louisiana about $1.3 billion by making that deal, and I'm very proud of it. There's some people who couldn't be here today that I just feel like I have to thank. Senator Landrieu, Senator Breaux, Senator Cassidy, Senator Vitter, all worked on this project. I want to thank John Bell and Garrett for their steady leadership. Cedric Richmond, who couldn't be here today as well. This project took a while. And finally, I want to thank a civilian. There's a man on my staff by the name of Bubba Guesser. Bubba is a lawyer and an architect and a true public servant. He worked for Senator Landrieu on this project. He got hired away into the private sector. He was making truckloads full of money, but he said, I miss government and I want to come back. And he came to see me and I said, when can you start? And he has worked on this project every single day. Thank you, Bubba. Thank all of you. God bless this country and God bless our state.
Thank you, Senator. Congressman Garrett Graves.
Thanks, Colonel. Thanks, Senator. This really is amazing to stand here right now. I want to remind y'all that when Hurricane Katrina made landfall, it's estimated that there was somewhere around a wall of water that was about 25 feet high that was right here. The water came along the MRGO, came along the GIWW, and this was just this major confluence, this Golden Triangle area. This wall of water went in and just sacked New Orleans, sacked Jefferson Parish. It was complicated further by water coming the Industrial Canal. This project right here, everything you're seeing right here, this whole wall, this was on the back of an envelope. On the back of an envelope after Hurricane Katrina. This was on just sketched out. There are other parts of this project that have been around, literally date back to the 1960s and 70s. This was on the back of an envelope. after Hurricane Katrina, this structure, nearly $1.5 billion, was completed about 5 or 6 years after that. This is absolutely amazing. It's incredible, incredible feat. But let me tell you something, a little bit about how we got here. We got here because there were projects that had been devised for this area, to protect this area, that, as I said, they date back to the 60s and 70s. And those projects were moving along way too slow. And what we're talking about, what we're celebrating right now, all this is on the backs of about 1,500 of our fellow brothers and sisters that perished in Hurricane Katrina. All this is on the backs. Senator Kennedy talked about the cost of the taxpayers. I want to remind y'all, we spent about $150 billion of American taxpayer funds responding to what happened here with Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita in 2005. 150 billion, 1,500 lives. The mayor talked about how we've got to look at all this stuff holistically. We've got to build levees, we have to build pump stations, we have to restore our barrier islands, we have to restore our wetlands. This is a system. My gosh, shame on us if we ever get complacent, if we ever slide back into that old approach, that old system of being complacent. It shouldn't have taken those lives, it shouldn't have taken those dollars to get us here. But look, this is an amazing accomplishment, and as so many people have said, there are hundreds and thousands of people that have contributed to what we're celebrating today. And you know what? Senator Kennedy, it was 14 or 15 billion dollars, but this thing, it's worth every single penny, and I know you know that. There were people after Hurricane Katrina that were questioning whether we should come back here, whether we should even rebuild here. Look, this is one of the most amazing places on earth. The people here are great. The resources here are amazing. And look at it exploding and flourishing now. This place is worth protecting. It's worth every single penny. And as noted, in 2012, Hurricane Isaac, you remember, it's sitting right there. It wouldn't move. This thing protected our community. This system protected our community. And Hurricane Ida had all kinds of reporters calling us from Louisiana and across the country saying, do you think it's going to flood? Is that system going to hold? And I told him then, so there is no doubt in my mind. I have every bit of confidence that system's not going anywhere. And it performed. It has paid for itself. But I also want to remind you, moving a little bit over to the west from here, a little bit over to the west, we have President Jewell coming up. The Upper Barataria system going to protect 7 or 8 parishes, all the way up from St. Charles and Lafourche up to Ascension Parish. We just passed a provision through the House Committee to authorize that $1.5 billion project. And like I said about not being complacent, look, yeah, we spent 14 or 15 billion dollars doing this, but you know what? We're not done, and we should never stop. We just authorized an additional $1.8 billion to improve this system, to make sure that we continue raising it, widening it, making sure that it's stronger as we learn more about changing conditions and what the future is going to look like. It's awesome that we're here today. This is an incredible engineering feat. But we've got to remember the lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina. This is a system. Our barrier islands, our coastal wetlands, our natural forests and other barriers, as well as our walls, pump stations, it all goes into this system. And we can't ever stop improving, ever stop learning from our mistakes and successes and continue building. Because I'll say it again, South Louisiana is worth protecting. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Graves. Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, Chief of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Well, good morning, everyone, and it is an honor to be here with all of you today. As you heard Senator Kennedy and Congressman Graves just say, in 2006, Congress and the administration made a bold and unprecedented decision, and that was fully providing upfront $14.5 billion to design this incredible system. In fact, the surge barrier that you're sitting on today, this $1.5 billion project, is the largest design, build, construction project in the Army Corps of Engineers' 247-year history, the largest we've ever done. So to get after this bold commitment, there are a lot of chiefs of engineers, a lot of district commanders who have worked hard on this throughout the years, but we did not do this by ourselves. We worked with a lot of talented scientists and engineers from the state of Louisiana, from across the country, and from across the globe to get that help. And while I could go on and on about the design elements and the steel and the concrete and the compacted earth around here on this project, the most important thing that we built here were the relationships. The relationships that got us through the challenges of delivering this project, and the relationships that we're going to have to sustain to get after the important work ahead. So I'm just going to end by saying we recognize, we fully acknowledge our work is not yet done. Congress and the administration have made important commitments to the people of this region. We're going to see through on those commitments, and we want to continue to work to achieve our vision, and that is engineering solutions for our nation's toughest challenges, and we're going to do that right here in the state of Louisiana. So thank you again, Colonel Murphy, and thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. John Long, the Federal Coordinating Officer for FEMA Region 6.
Thank you, Colonel Murphy. Good morning, distinguished guests. On behalf of FEMA, it's my honor today to congratulate and commend the Corps of Engineers and their partners from the great state of Louisiana on the formal completion of this magnificent system that will do so much to reduce our risk and improve resilience in the greater New Orleans area. And it comes at a great time, at an important time when hurricane season starts again next week. So imagine just for a minute that a few short weeks from now, we are once again threatened by a storm that has formed in the Gulf and in less than 72 hours is threatening us with a Category 4 hurricane. NOAA last week issued their prediction for once again an unkind forecast of an above-average hurricane season. This, as we are recovering still from 3 hurricanes in 2020 and Hurricane Ida last year, that makes it more important that everyone have a plan and know what they're going to do. We have people whose houses are not repaired from last year. As I drive around my neighborhood in New Orleans, I still see blue roofs. And we have more than 10,000 families across South Louisiana that are living in mobile homes and recreational vehicles provided by FEMA and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. That's no place to be when a storm threatens. And so it's more important than ever that you go to ready.gov, where you'll find tools and templates to make a plan, build a kit. If you do those things, listen to your local emergency managers and are prepared, then we will all, you, your families, be safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. St. Charles Parish President Matt Jewell.
Thank you for having me, and I agree with Senator Kennedy. As I look at this wall here, it is certainly magnificent to see, and what a beautiful backdrop of the city of New Orleans behind us. Colonel Murphy alluded to the fact that this system is over 100 miles long. So as you drive past New Orleans and you drive a little bit further, you'll hit St. Charles Parish. The East Bank of St. Charles Parish is protected by the HSDRRS system, and this HSDRRS system performed during Hurricane Ida, which is the worst storm that we've ever faced in St. Charles Parish. On the West Bank of St. Charles Parish, our residents have made a $50 million investment to build our own levees while we wait for that 100-year storm protection, which we're seeking so greatly to protect our residents in St. Charles Parish, but not just protect our residents, but protect the billions of dollars of industrial assets that St. Charles Parish houses. And I want to thank Congressman Graves for working to get that upper Barataria risk reduction congressional authorization
out of TNI and a part of the Word of Bill, and we look forward to working with the rest of our congressional delegation to see that $1.5 billion project through. That project's going to protect 7 parishes and, again, billions of dollars of infrastructure. So as our residents come back from Hurricane Ida, as we restore our parish, we want to build back better than we've ever had, and we look forward to working with not only our congressional leaders, but the Corps of Engineers. We look forward to working with our state delegation to make that a reality. And we also look forward to working with FEMA to make sure that our true risks are reflected in our flood insurance rates and that those flood insurance rates don't cripple our communities. I agree with Congressman Graves. Southeast Louisiana is worth protecting, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you very much, President. Chairman of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, Mr. Chip Klein.
So while today is a great day for the greater New Orleans area and this region, you know, days like today make those of us that work at CPRA think about the work that remains in front of us. And if you think about the opportunity that is in front of us, you think about Morganza to the Gulf, Terrebonne and Lafourche. You heard Congressman Graves and President Jewell talk about Upper Barataria. If you think about West Shore Lake Pontchartrain, which protects the river parishes. If you think about the work that's being done by the Corps of Engineers on the North Shore, if we complete those systems along with this one, that means that you will have the overwhelming majority of the people who live and work in Southeast Louisiana behind a hurricane risk reduction system. And that's a goal that all of us should continue to work towards. One of the greatest lessons learned during Hurricane Katrina was that not only do we need systems like this to protect us, to reduce our risk, but that these systems need to be properly operated and maintained. And I want to tell you, Mayor, I think your levee districts, your flood authorities here in the greater New Orleans area are ready for that responsibility. And so we have this system. It's just as important that we take care of this system. And so today is a great day for the greater New Orleans area, for the state of Louisiana and the state's coastal program. And I thank all of you for your partnerships, the work that you do, and the collaboration that takes place each and every day. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chip. Mr. Scott Burke, the President of the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West.
Hello, and thank you, Colonel, and the Corps of Engineers for inviting us to this special event. Governor Edwards, Senator Kennedy, and distinguished guests, I am honored to represent the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West today as we celebrate the handover of HSDRRRS and prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. We have immense confidence in our system, the system that the citizens of Louisiana, Congress, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers worked so diligently to design, fund, and build. We saw during Hurricane Ida how our system performed exactly as designed and how important it is to the safety of our community. Last year, the system protected approximately 210,000 residents and more than 8,300 non-resident structures on the west bank of Jefferson and Orleans parishes. That's more than $1.3 billion in property values. As our experiences from the last decade, and especially last year, have taught us, it's important for the local flood authorities to continue to make improvement and test our systems continuously as we prepare for the hurricane season each year. We take our responsibility for the well-being of the people of the West Bank very seriously, and it guides our attention to detail in every aspect of our job. That's why we encourage all of our residents to have their own hurricane plan as well. You can trust that we will operate the system in coordination with parish and state officials and the Corps of Engineers, but we ask you to pay attention to local authorities and heed their warning if a storm approaches. Of course, we don't hope for a storm, but at the Southeast Flood Protection Authority West, we are prepared. With our colleagues in Orleans and Jefferson Parish, our elected leaders and our citizens, we will get through this season together. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And our final speaker, the Regional Director of the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East and the owner of this incredible structure, Mrs. Kelly Chandler.
Hey, good morning. First, I want to say thank you for allowing us to host this event at this special barrier. This, as stated before, this is a world-class engineering feat, and I am honored and actually humbled to be responsible for operating and maintaining this system. As was stated by Chip, the work doesn't stop here. We have to continue to maintain the system, take care of it, and make sure we're ready for every hurricane season. With the increase of storms and the strength of these storms, we understand the huge responsibility we have in operating and maintaining this system and protecting this region. I want to say a special thanks not only to our partners at the local, state, federal level, the Corps, CPRA, Congress, Governor Edwards, Mayor Cantrell, but I also want to say thank you to the hundreds of men and women that operate this system and maintain this system on a daily basis. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have the protection we had for Ida. So I just really want to thank them and the work that they do on a daily basis. We've exercised our gates, we've completed our annual inspections, we've done our tabletop exercises. We are ready for this hurricane season, and we are confident that the system will perform as designed. But we also encourage all citizens to have a plan, know where you're going to evacuate, have adequate insurance, and listen to local and state government. Thank you so much all for attending, and let's have a safe hurricane season. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kelly. So in closing, I just want to say a few brief remarks. And first of all, I really want to address the New Orleans District employees, the Corps of Engineers employees, who over the last 15 years have worked in partnership with many of you here to provide this. And if you didn't know this, on August 29th, 2005, and the days after this, district was about 1,200 people in size. And about a third of the district, over 400 people, lost everything. Everything. And days later, the majority of them were back at work. And they committed themselves every day to provide this. And it takes time. There's hurricanes, there's storms. But I just really want to say the members of the district and the enterprise effort it was for the Army Corps of Engineers, for those folks, thank you to you folks for your dedication. You did so while your families, in many cases, were out of the state recovering. You did so living in houses or in hotels. This truly is built on your backs and the backs of so many others. I'll echo the words of many of our speakers. It truly is a miracle and a marvel. I couldn't agree more, Senator Kennedy, but the work continues. But I am confident in this system, but I am more confident in what I would argue is one of the primary lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina. It is the partnerships and the relationships, not the money, not the structures, that make this work. And I am confident that the relationship the Corps of Engineers has with the state, with our congressional delegation, with the city, that there is nothing that we cannot accomplish with the record level of federal investments that we are seeing in partnership with the state. So I'll close with just that final reminder. It's probably going to be a tough hurricane season, and we all own the risk. So I challenge you, do your part. The hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system is ready. Are you? Thank you very much. At this time, I would ask that our speakers please join my PAO, Ricky, for a group photograph. And after the photograph, in lieu of questions, our speakers will stay behind for any media engagements. Thank you very much for attending. Ricky is standing right back here in the green shirt with his hands raised for our speakers.